581.
Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead Aherne. Today's top stories. There's calls for University Hospital Waterford to test coronavirus swabs for nursing home patients and staff. The country's top health officials are meeting this afternoon to discuss the next steps in Ireland's response to COVID-19. Gardaí in Waterford will be stepping up their patrols of scenic areas over the coming days. And in sport, former European Ryder Cup captain Paul McGinley believes this year's Open Championship could be cancelled. An independent TD wants the lab at University Hospital Waterford to analyse coronavirus tests for nursing home in the region. Matt Shanahan says the delay in receiving results is having a huge impact. He told the Dáil that 66 private and voluntary nursing homes in the southeast have 3,000 beds and employ 3,600 staff. Deputy Shanahan proposed a solution to the testing delay.
The regional pathology laboratory for the southeast at University Hospital Waterford presently provides all microbial testing for the South East region hospitals. In addition, it is currently providing on-site in Waterford 24 turnaround COVID tests for hospital inpatients and hospital staff. I am asking Minister Harris to resource and direct UHW laboratory to undertake testing of all nursing home swabs in the region. This would immediately and dramatically improve turnaround times and offer significant relief to nursing home managers and caregivers.
The country's top health officials are meeting this afternoon to discuss the next steps in Ireland's response to COVID-19. Plans to ramp up testing and the rising number of clusters in nursing homes are some of the main issues on the agenda, as Stephen Murphy reports.
The Taoiseach admitted last night the levels of testing for COVID-19 aren't where the government thought they'd be. Around 2,500 people are currently being tested a day. Health officials want that to be as high as 15,000 in the coming weeks. It's one of the main issues being discussed by the National Public Health Emergency Team this afternoon. They'll also consider how well the current restrictions are working. Senior government official Liz Canavan says it'll be next week before any decision is made.
That will depend on how things are going in terms of new cases, ICU admissions, etc. It will be the National Public Health Emergency Team who will advise us as to whether we should extend those restrictions or relax or refine them.
It's also been confirmed that Gardaí have processed 5,500 vetting applications for healthcare workers over the past 3 weeks, so they're available for frontline duties.
Nearly 2,000 for the Health Service Executive, over 1,600 for the National Recruitment Federation for medically related staff, over 900 for the Nursing Homes of Ireland, and over 800 for independent hospitals, healthcare agencies and the volunteer sector.
The NPHET meeting today will also discuss the rising number of clusters in nursing homes. It now stands at 38. Overall, there are now over 3,800 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the country and 98 people have died.
A Waterford TD says some people are falling through the cracks when it comes to the COVID unemployment payment. Mark O'Cosick says people under the age of 18 and over the age of 66 are not included. He raised the matter in the Dáil.
I've had many representations, like my colleague in Sinn Féin, from people who fall outside the range of the pandemic unemployment payment, be that apprentices under 18 or older citizens who might be supplementing their pension provisions with part-time work. While I accept the principle of a working age payment and why those age limits might apply, that's cold comfort to those excluded, be they 17 or 70. And I hope that the Department can find a way of helping these people in the weeks ahead.
However, the Taoiseach says people over to the age of 66 are still getting paid.
The situation people over 66 is they should qualify for the state pension. So people over 66 were drawing the state pension and were also earning an income in addition to that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But our objective wasn't to make sure that everyone got the same income. Our objective was to make sure that nobody was left short of money to pay the bills.
The central bank says COVID-19 has triggered a severe economic shock, the likes of which has never been seen before. Meanwhile, IBEC is calling for significant new government measures to support vulnerable businesses, as Kim Buckley reports.
In its quarterly bulletin, the central bank says the economy could shrink by 8.3% of GDP this year and the unemployment rate could peak at 25% in the coming months. But economist David McWilliams says the central bank should be a player, not a spectator.
What riles me a little bit this morning is listening to the central bank giving their tuppence halfpenny on the economy without actually standing up and saying we are an active part of economic policy and we will do our part. I think the central bank has been incredibly unresponsive.
Meanwhile, the group that represents Irish business is calling for new emergency measures from the government to support vulnerable businesses. IBEC proposes a package of cash flow and liquidity measures to support the economy to about 10% of GDP, bringing Ireland in line with other countries. Director of Policy and Public Affairs is Fergal O'Brien.
The spending to date has predominantly been to households. It has been flowing through the firms, but that has actually been support for households. Government has actually done very little in terms of meaningful support and investment measures for business.
The central bank says reduction in economic output this year will be greater than any year during the financial crisis.
Plans are being developed to allow for the Leaving and Junior Cert exams to go ahead this year. Yesterday, the Taoiseach Léir Varadkar said they want sixth-year students to be able to start college later this year. However, it'll depend on how long current restrictions are because of the coronavirus remain in place. A Waterford secondary school teacher says students aren't missing out on classes while they're at home. Paul O'Reilly, a teacher in Waterpark College and a member of the ASTI, says teachers are using their creativity to teach students remotely.
There's different sort of packages that are available, for online communication. Teachers can actually teach live now. They can connect up with the students and provide tuition, provide correcting. I've even heard of cases of teachers having live kind of classes and taking attendance at the start of the class. And, I think it's all really, really good. It shows creativity and it shows what teachers can do when they put their shoulders to the wheel,
Gardaí and Waterford are reminding people they're continuing to carry out checkpoints to ensure anyone who's out is making an essential journey. They'll be stepping up their patrols of scenic areas over the coming days. Waterford Community Policing Sergeant is Dave Butler.
We'll be conducting high visibility checkpoints, patrols and ensuring a Garda presence at all scenic areas, amenities and public parks in Waterford this weekend. And Garda Síochána would like to remind people that exercise is allowed within a 2-kilometre radius of your home. However, you cannot exercise outside of this range or with people from outside your household. If people are travelling to and from work, please have the necessary documentation available for inspection at checkpoints. And once again, Garda Síochána is here to help and ensure people stay safe by adhering to the advice of the government.
He says people should not be driving to places like the Eco Park and the Greenway.
Our mountain bike unit will be on patrol within the city centre and can also patrol the eco parks and greenways to ensure that compliance of the government guidelines in respect of COVID-19.
Waterford pharma company Sanofi is providing €10,000 to Bernardo's to help the charity deliver support to local families during the COVID-19 crisis. Project leader from Bernardo's in Waterford, Una Conroy, says this is a real boost at a difficult time for the vulnerable families they work with. The charity is seeing significant extra demand at the moment from families, and she says this latest support will go a long way in Waterford at this tough time. Head of HR at Sanofi, Martin O'Leary, says it's an anxious time for everyone, but especially those who started out with the least. He says the work that Bernardo's and other charities do with those in need who need their support has never been more important. And a Waterford city centre butcher says there's no problem with supplies and people don't need to panic buy. Thomas Carney from Carney's in John Street says they've their own farm and sell their own beef. He says it's very eerie in Waterford city centre at the moment.
It's just very strange times, and it's when you see the street out there, not a sinner on the street, like it's unbelievable really. Like I've never seen it and hopefully never see it again after this. Like all our beef is our own, we're no shortage on beef. Certain things, chicken and pork is just a little bit slower coming in, like there's going to be no shortage in it, but demand is there, everyone's looking for it. We do have everything, you mightn't just, but as for lamb and beef, there would be no shortage, it's all our own, the beef is all our own from the farm.
WLR Sport, Ireland's local station of the year.
First to golf, for former European Ryder Cup captain Paul McGinley believes this year's Open Championship could be cancelled. The Masters and US PGA Championships have already been postponed, with the US Open and Open Championships set to make announcements soon. Shane Lowry is due to defend his Open title at Royal St George's from the 16th of July, but McGinley thinks the Offaly man may have to wait until next year.
In terms of the Open Championship, from what I believe and what I understand and what I read, it's with insurances. It's down to insurances, and I know the RNA rely very heavily on the income of the Open Championship in order to sustain their business year on year. So I'm sure they've got a very, very bulletproof insurance policy in place. And if that insurance policy is going to guarantee the income that they would lose out, well, that's probably what they will do. They will cancel until next year. Looking from the outside, that's what I think.
The date for the restart of the Premier League is expected to be pushed back today. All 20 clubs will hold a conference call later to discuss future plans amid the coronavirus pandemic. And Horse Racing Ireland's confirmed the champions for the National Hunt season. Willie Mullins has secured the Trainers' Championship for the 14th time. Paul Townend is the champion jockey and Jigginstown House Stud is the champion owner. WLR asking you to stay at home. Our next bulletin is at 2.